Assalamualaikum and good day to everyone. So in this video, we will discuss WOW program SM025 Set 5. Altogether, we will discuss 10 questions. We have 3 questions in part A and 7 questions in part B. So let's get started with part A first. So for question number 1 in part A, this involving topic 5 vectors. So for question number 1, now we have point A, B and C, and this defined in a plane of pi, means these 3 points lies on that plane. So for part A, we have to find the value of P if vector I plus Pj plus K is a normal to the plane. So in this case means we have to find the vector and this vector is normal to the plane. So what do we understand? If a normal if we have a vector that is normal to the plane, means that that vector is actually perpendicular to the plane. So I illustrate our diagram like this. So we have three different points just now, A, B, and C, and then we have to find the normal vector which is perpendicular to the plane. So in order to find normal to the plane, we have to know that um, our direction vector, if we dot with our normal vector, our product would be 0. Because if two vector that is perpendicular to each other, let's say in general now I have vector A and vector B. If both are perpendicular to each other, then vector A, if I dot with vector B, then I will get 0. So we have to use this concept in order to find constant P in our normal vector. So now we already obtained normal vector, but we have a problem with constant C. And then we have to find one direction vector. It can be any direction vector that you have to find. So you can use AB or direction AC or BA or CA. Or yes, any point that you want to find the direction vector is fine. So in this case, I find direction vector AB. So we have negative 2i plus j plus k. Okay, and then I dot with our normal vector just now, I plus bj plus k, and then equate these to 0. Must be equal to 0, okay, because that is the concept of perpendicular vector. That goes our first marks. And then perform dot product between those two vector. So remember, vector I, we dot with vector I, and then j with j, k with k. Just take the constant, ignore the vector. That's how we get negative 2 times 1 plus 1 times p plus negative 1 times 1 equal to 0. And then simplify this up. We may get the value of p is 3. Okay, that's for the first question. Now moving on to the second one. So we have to determine the Cartesian equation of a plane. So referring to this part means we have to find equation of a plane. Back to the basic. If it's equation of the plane, we have a fixed formula r dot n must be equal to a dot n. So let's go through with the solution. Okay. So if we want to find the Cartesian equation of a plane, as I said just now, r dot n equal to a dot n. Sorry, slightly error here. A dot n. Okay, so what is r? R is vector x, y, z. N is a normal vector on that plane. Just now we already obtained our normal vector from question A. And then A is any point on that plane. And just now we have 3 option of point, either point A, point B, or point C. You can substitute any point. Okay. Now one by one we substitute into the formula. So r dot n equal to a dot n. Vector A and vector n, we have to perform the dot product. And then for vector r, we can change this into x, y, z dot with 1, 3, 1. That's how we finally get x plus 3y plus z equal to negative 7. And that is the final answer for question B. Moving on to question C. So we have a straight line now. our equation is in the form of vector equation, and t is a scalar here. We have to calculate the angle between the plane and a line. Okay, so in order to find the angle, we have a fixed formula. You have to use cos theta between the direction vector of line and normal vector of plane, and then divide by its magnitude. So find one by one. Okay, this is the situation, or I try to illustrate this one once more. Okay, so let's say this is the plane. For a plane, we have the normal vector, and then we have another line here, just now, line L. So first step, if we find the angle between line and normal, so we're gonna get angle here. Okay, so if we perform the dot product between normal vector of our plane and then choose direction vector of that line. Remember, choose the direction vector, not the position vector. So direction vector means the latter part in your equation. If I go back to the question just now, we have to use, yes, the latter part of your equation that is referring to your direction vector. Okay. So perform dot product between those two one by one. So the dot product from there, you're going to get 10, and then divide it by its magnitude. So you have to divide with set of 1 plus 1 plus 9, and then for direction vector, the magnitude would be set of 25 plus 1 plus 4. Okay, and then shift cos, then you obtain 56.6 degree. Okay, but remember, that's not the final answer yet, because now you only find the angle between the direction vector and normal vector. But the question asks for later part. I rename this as theta. Yes, the angle between line and plane. So we know normal and plane must be 90 degree. So in order to find theta, 90 degree minus with your answer. That's how we get final part. Our final answer will be um 33.4 degree. So for angle in vector, just provide your final answer in degree unit. Okay, so we settle with question number 1. All right, moving on with question number 2. So for question number 2, this is topic 9, random variable. Okay, so we have a probability density function given in the question. So careful with that part. So this referring to continuous random variable. So if they use the word density, that's for sure continuous random variable. Okay, and then we have a function there and a positive constant. So first part, we have to show that our constant k is actually 3. Okay, so how do we solve this? All right, remember, if we have a continuous random variable, our summation of probability must be 1, but because this is continuous case, we must integrate. So our main properties, okay, integral of our function must be equal to 1. So since we only have one function in the question, that is 4x to the power of k from 0 up to 1. So we must integrate that part equal to 1. We must rewrite this as equal to 1. That goes our first mark, okay? And then carefully integrate this, okay? X to the power of k, k is just a constant, so you just integrate it as usual using the basic rule of integration, k plus 1 divided with our new power, okay? Our limit is still the same from 0 up till 1. Okay, and then we have to substitute the limit. So I just directly substitute 1 into the function and 0 into the function. After that, we just have to simplify. Okay, just remember 1 to the power of any power will be equal to 1, and 0 to the power of any power would be always 0. So that's how we get, if I simplify this up, this would be 4 of 1 minus 0 over k plus 1. And then that's how we get 4 is actually k plus 1. So our final answer, k is 3. So we managed to show what the question asked for. Okay. Settle with the first part. Now moving on, part B. Given that the mean of x is zero point 0.8, find the standard deviation. Alright, back to the basic first, we must know the formula. Okay, in order to find standard deviation, we must find the variance first. So in order to find the variance, we have to find EX squared. Okay, so since the question already provide us with EX, so you just have to straight away use that. But for EX squared, we have to use the formula. So for EX squared, remember, we have to integrate x squared times with our function. Okay, and then since just now our function is 4x cubed, and then we have to find times with x squared. That's how we get our original formula for this question. We have to integrate from the limit in the question from 0 up to 1, and then 4x to the power of 5 dx. Okay, directly integrate. That's how we get x to the power of 6 over 6, and then substitute with the limit. So our EX squared value in this case would be 2 over 3. Okay. And then after that, substitute this into variance formula. We have a fixed formula for that part. For variance x, we have to use EX squared minus with squared of EX. So EX squared, what we have find before, 2 over 3. And then squared of EX, 0.8, what the question provide with. And then that's how we get 0.0267. And that is for variance of x. Okay, still not the end of our solution. We have to find now the standard deviation. As we all know, the standard deviation would be square root of our variance. So square root of 0.0267. That's how we find our standard deviation. For final answer would be 0.1634. Okay, very simple step. Make sure you know how to use the formula, understand the step correctly, understand the formula correctly. Now, proceed to question C. So for this random variable, we have to find the upper quartile of x. What is upper quartile? So upper quartile is actually Q3. Okay. So for Q3, as we all know, that is 3 over 4 of our observation. So means we want to find quartile when our final answer is 0.75. Since this is continuous random variable, we have to integrate our function. So from 0, our lower limit, up to Q3. That's what the question asks for. Straight away use our function 4x cubed dx, and then equate our final answer to 0.75, and then from there we have to simplify to find the solution. Okay, so that's what I explained before here. So from 0 up to Q3, and then your function equate to 0.75, and then integrate our function carefully. That's how we get x to the power of 4 over 4. We can simplify this up, and then substitute the limit. We have Q3 to the power of 4 is 0.75. So you just have to simplify it up. Finally, our Q3 or upper quartile in this case would be 0.931. Okay, now we proceed with the third question. So third question for part A is always referring to topic 9, special probability distribution. Okay, so now we have for this topic, we have 3 types of distribution, whether it's binomial distribution, Poisson distribution, or normal distribution. So you have to detect that question referring to which distribution first in order to answer the question. Okay, take the hint. Most likely from the first sentence itself, you have a hint which type of distribution the question asks for. Okay, so the water from a lake is tested and it is found to contain on average 4 bacteria per liter. Okay, that is a major hint. We don't have number of trial. They didn't mention about normal distribution at all, but they use the term average 4 bacteria in a liter of water. So if the sentence or the question mentioned about an average of 4, that's straight away referring to our Poisson distribution. Okay, and then make sure you have the same rate. Now we have a sample of 250 milliliter. They use a different rate for that part, means you have to change your average. Okay, so for part A, we have to find the probability exactly 2 bacteria or at least 2 bacteria. So let's check the solution. Okay, now for the solution part for question number 3, part A just now, we already decide that this is a Poisson distribution. Remember just now, on average, we have 4 bacteria if it's 1000 milliliter or 1 liter. But then the question only asks for 250 milliliter. So our average or our lambda now changed to 1 only. Okay, so for the first question, we have to find probability exactly 2 number of bacteria. So if the question exactly 2, that means x equal to 2. Okay, for this part, you can either use the table or you can straight away use the formula. So I use formula here, exponent to the power of negative lambda. So exponent to the power of negative 1 times with lambda to the power of x. So times with 1 squared divide with x factorial. So divide with 2 factorial, straight away we obtain the answer 0.1839. Okay, and then for the second question, we have to find probability at least 2. So straight away use your statistic table. Okay, referring to Poisson table. Let's so go to Poisson distribution. I believe in your statistic table start with page 12. Okay, all right. Table number 2, and then referring to our lambda just now is 1. So from there straight away you can see if your lambda is 1, we have to find probability at least 2. Straight away we get 0.2642. Okay, so that's the final answer. Okay, and then moving on to question B. So for question B, we have a larger sample of 2 liter. Now our rate change. Now, instead of 250 milliliter, we change into 2 liter. So, lambda will be changed now. So, and then we have to find the probability that this larger sample will contain less than 10 but not less than 6 bacteria. Okay, you have to translate the question correctly. Less than 10 but no less than 6. Okay, so this is actually, okay, in between of less than 10. So 10 is not included, but not less than 6 means 6 would be our minimum number. Okay, so from 6 up till 10, but 10 is not included. Careful, our lambda now must be changed into 8. Okay, because it's involving 2000 milliliter of water. So introduce a new distribution. So we have a new distribution with 8 as our lambda. So to answer the question just now, from 6 up till 10, but 10 is not included. So we have to use our table, at least 6 minus with at least 10. So straight away read from the table, referring to the correct pages. Okay, for at least 6, we have 0.8088 and at least 10 is 0.2834. So our final answer in this case would be 0.5254. Okay, that's the end for part A. You can mark your solution now and then total it up out to 25 marks. And then next, we will proceed with part B. So now, let's continue with part B. So for part B, we altogether would have 7 questions. You must answer all questions. So for question number 1, this involving topic 1, numerical method. Okay, so for this question number 1, we have to show that the equation of ln x equal to 5 minus 2x has a root in the interval of 1 up till 3. So that's the first question. And then hence, by using the Newton-Raphson formula, we have to show that the iterative equation of the root is as it is, xn plus 1 equal to xn times with 6 minus ln xn divided with 1 plus 2xn. Okay, so if we read the question carefully, they did not ask us to solve, but then we have to show from the basic formula, we have to simplify to show the xn plus 1 what the question asks for. Okay, so we start with the first part first. We have to show that our root actually exists in the interval of 1 up to 3. So first part, we have to define our function. As in the question, they only provide us with ln x equal to 5 minus 2x just now. Okay, ln x equal to 5 minus 2x. Okay, so this is not a function form yet. So we have to rewrite this in the form of function, whether you bring everything to the left side or right side, it doesn't matter. So now our new function of fx would be ln x plus 2x minus 5. Okay, so you have to redefine your function first. And then in order to prove this is between 1 up to 3, so just straight away substitute value of 1, the first one. Okay, make sure you obtain the answer. The sign, very important. So for the first one, we have negative ln 3, that is negative value. And then once we substitute F3, we obtain ln 3 plus 1, and that shows a positive value. Okay, so after that, make a conclusion. So since F1 and F3 have opposite signs, so equation of ln x plus 2x minus 5 has a root in between of the interval 1 up till 3. So make sure you make a full conclusion. So first mark goes to the way you show. Okay, and then second marks goes to the way you make a conclusion. So this is the first option while using algebraic method. So if you want to use graphical method, it's also possible. Then you have to sketch the graph between those two. So you have to sketch the graph of ln x. I just briefly sketched here. So we have ln x, and then you have to sketch a graph of 5 minus 2x. Okay, something like this. Since the graph intersect at a point, that's why we have a root exists between 1 and 3, because that is the intersection, the x-intercept of ln x and 5 minus 2x. Okay, all right. So settle with the first part. Now moving on to the second part, we have to show what the question asks for. Okay, remember back to the basic. If we want to rewrite in Newton-Raphson formula, xn plus 1 is actually xn minus with our original function fxn divide with our f prime. Okay, so first we have to find our f prime. So you have to differentiate our function. Derivative of ln x, we're going to get 1 over x. Derivative of 2x is 2, and derivative of negative 5 is 0. So that's how we get 1 over x plus 2. Or we can equate the denominator part to be 1 plus 2x over 2. Okay, and then replace every single x as xn, and then rewrite into the formula. So that's how we get as written here. That goes our next marks. Okay, just rewrite everything into the correct formula. Okay, next process is involving basic simplification process. So for sure, first one, we have to simplify the denominator part. So you have to flip it over and then equate the denominator. And then we can expand everything and simplify what we can. So here 2x squared can be cancelled out. And then xn plus with 5xn, we get 6xn. And then for the last part, since the question factorize out xn, so you just factorize as what the question asks for. So 3 marks for this part. First part, rewrite in the correct formula. And then second part, the way you simplify, so that's involving equate denominator part. And then last part is final answer must be the same as what the question asks for. So for this topic, most likely it's only involving 5 marks. Very direct question, very simple question. Okay, moving on to the next question. So question number 2, this involving topic 2, integration. So for integration, it's cover lots of subtopic. You have to do very true revision, very detailed revision, because most of the time the question would require you to use all the techniques. Okay. So first part, question 2a, we have to find the integral of tangent squared to x dx. Okay, back to the basics. We can only integrate 3 types of function that are sine, cosine, and tangent. But for this question, we have to integrate tangent squared. So if it's involving tangent squared, straight away you have to use the identity. Okay. So from tangent squared to x, I change into our basic identity, secant squared to x minus 1 dx. Okay, you can refer to your basic identity. Okay, and then now directly you can integrate each function. So integral of secant squared to x would be tangent to x over 2. Integrate -1 would be negative x, and then don't forget with plus c, as that is the final answer. So 2 question for this, 2 marks for this question. Okay, settle with the first one. Now moving on for question number 2b. So we have to find the value of constant A, B, and C, and then we have to integrate this up. So if you check this fx function, that's referring to partial fraction form. Okay, so the question already transform this into 3 different types of fraction. You just have to equate the denominator, okay, as it is, and then from there substitute appropriate value of x so that we can find the value of a, b, and c. Okay, so first I want to find value of c. So a and b share the same factor of 3x minus 1. So to make it 0, I substitute x equal to 1 over 3. Straight away from there, we get c is actually 3. Okay, and the next one, to find value of a, b and c share the same factor of x. So to find a, we can substitute x as 0. Straight away from there, we get a as 1. And then in order to find b, you can substitute any value of x, as you already find value of a and c. So here I choose to substitute x as 1, and then simplify this up. Straight away we get value for b would be -3. So now in order to integrate this, you just have to directly substitute value a, b, and c into our original question. So that's how we have to integrate now 1 over x minus 3 over 3x minus 1 plus 3 over 3x minus 1 squared. Okay, directly integrate this by using basic rule. So integral of 1 over x would be ln x. Make sure you put the absolute sign there. Okay. Integral of -3 over 3x minus 1, you're going to get ln 3x minus 1. And then integrate 3 over 3x minus 1 squared. You have to use the basic rule. That's how we get -1 over 3x minus 1 plus c as it is. Don't forget plus c as your final answer. Okay, settle with question 2b. Now moving on to 2c. So by using the substitution of u equal to 1 plus ex, we have to show what the question asks for. Okay, so directly here, the question specifically asks us to use technique of integration by substitution. So just follow directly what the question asks for. So our first step, they already mentioned about u is 1 plus exponent to the power of x. So du will be exponent to the power of x dx. Okay, but then we have a problem here. In the question, we have exponent to the power of 3x. So I split it up as exponent to the power of 2x and exponent to the power of x, and then rewrite this in term of u. So that's how we get u minus 1 squared over u du. Okay, you just have to rewrite everything carefully. Okay. And then now that become division of two different function, you still cannot directly integrate. You have to simplify it. So I expand u minus 1 squared and then simplify term by term. That's how we get u minus 2 plus 1 over u du. So integrate u, we get u squared over 2. Integrate 2, we get 2u. And last one, integrate 1 over u, we get ln u plus c. And last part, because our final answer must be in the term of x, not u, we have to change everything in term of x back. Okay, every single u that we obtain just now, we have to change into 1 plus exponent to the power of x. Okay, so for this part, is not exactly what the question asked for yet. So you have to simplify. Okay, expand everything and then rearrange everything. And for the constant part, c minus 3 over 2, we have to change into k, as that is known as one constant. And finally, we can get what the question asked for. Okay, so for the final part, make sure you simplify carefully as what the question asks for. Okay, settle with question number 2. Now moving on to question number 3. This is still topic 2. Okay, so we have a diagram, figure 1 now, and then we have a function in the question. Okay, y equal to x squared ln x over 3 minus 2x plus 5, and then our straight line from 1 up till 3, and we have a table below. Okay, so part A, use the trapezoidal rule with the value of y in the table. We have to estimate the area of S up to 3 decimal places. Okay, so in order to use trapezoidal rule, most of the time we have to figure out the value of x and y based on the limit. But they already provide us with everything in the table, so you just have to use this table. But we don't have the h value, the width of our strips. Okay. So in order to find that, straight away minus two different value of x. Okay, so I choose the first value and the second value. So if I subtract that up, we get straight away our value of h will be 0.5. That is the width of our strips. Normally in the question, we have to find value of h based on number of strips provided in the question. But for this question, they already provide us with value of x. So there is no number of strips. That's how we have to use alternative method. Choose two consecutive value of x to find our h. So 1.5 minus 1, straight away we get our width. H is 0.5. Okay. And then straight away substitute everything into the basic formula of trapezoidal rule. Okay, h over 2, so 0.5 over 2. And then first and last value of y, you have to add it up. And then the remaining of value of y, you have to sum it up but times by 2. Okay. Normally we arrange this in vertical table, but question provide you with horizontal table, so you have to manipulate this a little bit. And then just calculate this straight away into your calculator. Final answer will be 4.393 up to 3 decimal places. Follow the requirement of the question. Okay, and then for part B, explain how the trapezoidal rule could be used to obtain a more accurate estimation. Okay, so to increase the accuracy, we have few suggestions. First one, we can increase the number of strips, or we decrease the width of the strip. So if we decrease the width, means we increase number of strips, and we can use more trapezium. Basically, altogether, the idea would be we have to increase number of strips by decreasing the width of each strips. All means that we have to use more trapezium. Trapezium referring to our strips. Okay. And then for part C, we have to show that the exact area means your final answer must be in exact form without decimal places. Okay, is the area of S can be written in the form of A over B plus ln C. And A, B, and C are integers to be found. So we have to determine the final answer first and then figure out what is value of A, B, and C. Okay, so our area of S is actually, our limit is from 1 up till 3. Sorry, a typo here. From 1 up till 3, and then we have our function as squared ln x over 3 plus, minus 2x plus 5. For latter part, 2x plus 5, we don't have a problem to integrate that part. But for the first function, x squared ln x, we cannot integrate this directly as this involving multiplication of two different functions. Okay, we cannot solve this using substitution because we have ln here. So the only way to solve this is by using integration by part. Okay. So for integration by part, first you have to choose your u. How do we choose u? Remember the arrangement of Lopez. X squared is a polynomial function, and then ln x is ln function. Based on the arrangement of Lopez, ln comes first, so ln x will be our u. Okay, and then differentiate this up. That's how we get du is 1 over x dx. And then for the later part, x squared, we have to integrate that up. That is our dv. So our v will be x cubed over 3. And then substitute this into the formula of uv minus integral v du. Okay, so that is what's in the box here. Okay, I substitute each term x cubed over 9 ln x minus with x squared over 9. And then um, we have to integrate each term. So x squared over 9, if I integrate this up, okay. And then for, uh, okay. And then our solution continue here. Okay, messy a little bit, but I just continue here. So x cubed over 9 ln x, I just have to copy it back. And that integral of x squared over 9 will be x cubed over 27. So we settle with the first function. And then for the second function just now, negative 2x plus 5, directly integrate with no problem. Straight away we get negative x squared plus 5x. Okay, so I combine now everything in our final part for final answer with the correct limit from 1 up till 3. Okay, and then you must show you substitute the limit. Straight away just substitute. This is very important step. Make sure you substitute the correct limit with your final answer, and you have to simplify. So finally from there we get ln of 27 plus 28 over 27. So value of A would be 28, value of B would be 27, and value of C also be 27. So for this part, the trickiest part is you have to know that in order to integrate this, we have to use integration by part. So settle with question number 3. So as you figure this out, actually for topic 2, integration, you have to explore every single technique. First, you must know how to integrate basic function, how to use the identity. That is for question A. 2A. Question 2B, we have to use integration by partial fraction. Question number 2C, integration by substitution. And for question number 3C, integration by part. So you must expert with each of technique for integration. Okay. Moving on. Question number 4, discover topic 3. First differential equation, first order differential equation. For this topic, we only have two different techniques. First one is separable variable, and the second one is um, integrating factor. I think both technique will come out during final exam, so make sure you revise this in detail. So for question number 4A, by using integrating factor, so directly mentioned in the question, you have to use integrating factor method. You have to solve and find the general solution in the form of u as our main term. Okay, let's check the solution together. Okay, so if we want to use integrating factor method, remember 5 main steps. I use an acronym of SIMP. Okay, so first step S stand for standard form. So how do we determine whether we already have a standard form? So make sure our first term is a single derivative. Okay, so if we have any extra function or any extra constant in front of the derivative, you have to divide it up. Okay, and then for the second term, we have two different variable for this place. So in this case, we have x and u. And then for our right side, we only have one variable for that place. Okay, so if these three rules are positive, check out. So that means we already have a standard form for integrating factor. Okay. And then now second step, I. I stand for integrating factors. So how do we find this? Exponent to the power integral of our function. So how do we decide whether we have to use dx or du? Always choose the denominator part. So since now we have dx, that's how we know we have to integrate dx function. So how do we obtain the rest of the function? Focus on the second term, okay? And then choose the variable that we decide just now. So since we decide dx, so you only have to choose x variable, add with the sign. So don't drop the sign here because we have negative. So choose everything. You just have to ignore u. Okay, so that's how we get exponent to the power of negative 2x over x squared plus 4 dx. And then integrate this up, we get exponent to the power of negative ln of x squared plus 4. Okay, remember exponent to the power of ln can be simplified with a condition in front of ln cannot have any extra constant. So I bring this up as exponent to the power of ln of x squared plus 4 to the power of negative 1. That's how we get 1 over x squared plus 4 as our integrating factor. Make sure you do this step correctly as this will affect the rest of the step. Okay, so make sure you get the correct integrating factor as your second step. Okay, settle with that. Moving on to the third step, M. M means you have to multiply. So which part we have to multiply? Our answer in part part 2 just now, integrating factor, our final answer, multiply with standard form, your first step. So multiply each term. Okay, you just have to show you multiply each term. That is for the third step. And then moving on for the fourth step, product rule. So how do we simplify this? Remember, focus on the first term, factorize out our derivative d over dx, and then everything else you just have to copy back into the bracket. That's how we obtain d over dx of u over x squared plus 4. And then ignore our second term. For the third term, you just have to copy it back. So that's how we get equal to 3. And then last one, I stand for integrate both sides. So for our left side, we integrate but then differentiate. That is antiderivative process. It cancel out one another. That's how we get u over x squared plus 4. Integral for 3, we get 3x plus c. But remember, the question asks for u in term of x. So final answer, you have to make u as our main subject. So our final answer would be 3x plus c times with x squared plus 4. Okay, so that is 5 main steps for um, integrating factor method. Remember each step very detailed. Don't skip any step. Shouldn't be a problem. Okay, moving on for B. So the gradient of the curve xy is given by, now we have a function there. If the point is origin 0, 0, lies on the curve, find the equation of the curve. Okay, so means from this differential equation, we have to find the particular solution. Okay, for this question, we can actually separate the variable. So if we can separate the variable means we can use separable variable method. So directly separate, we get exponent to the power of y dy. And then for our right side will be exponent to the power of 2x dx, and directly integrate both sides. For our left side, exponent to the power of y, you can directly integrate to be exponent to the power of y back. But for our right side, exponent to the power of 2x times x cannot be directly be integrate. You have to use integration by part. Okay, remember just now the arrangement of Lopez. So we have polynomial and exponent here. Polynomial comes first. That's why our u will be x. Differentiate this one, you get du as dx. And then integrate exponent to the power of 2x, we get exponent to the power of 2x over 2, and directly substitute this into the formula. That's how we get half x exponent to the power of 2x minus exponent to the power of 2x over 4 plus c. Okay, this is the general solution. But the question provide us with extra initial condition. When x is 0, y is also 0, means we have to find the particular solution. So directly substitute x and y as 0 to find value for c. So that's how we get c is 5 over 4, and then rearrange this back to find our curve. So finally y would be ln of half x e to x minus e to x over 4 plus 5 over 4. Okay, so main part here is you have to know that this question can be solved by using separable variable method. And then second part, you have to decide whether the function can be directly integrated or you have to use some technique. And pay attention when the question provide you with initial condition, means you have to find the particular solution, means you have to find value for C, not leave the answer as general solution itself. Okay, settle with question number 4. Now, proceed with question number 5. This is topic 8. So for topic 8, we have two different type of question, whether it's discrete random variable or continuous random variable. So you have to be very careful for that part. Okay. So question number 5, we have a biased die with 6 faces is rolled, and then the discrete random variable x represent the score on the uppermost face. And then the probability distribution shown in the table below. So we have a discrete case here, and then we have a table. For part A, we have to find value of A and B if EX is 4.2. And then for part B, given that EX squared is 4.2, we have to find variance of 5 minus 3x. Okay, so let's check the solution together. So from the table itself, the question provide us with the mean or the expectation as 4.2. So use the formula of mean. Remember, expectation is actually summation of x times with its probability. So I just times each probability with value of a and then equate this with 4.2. And then simplify this up, we get a first solution of 3a plus 4.5b equal to 1.2. Okay, that's the first one. And then for the second solution, always remember the basic properties of discrete random variable. Summation of each probability must be 1. So sum up each of the probability in the table as 1, and then we get a second solution. 3a plus 2b is 0.7. Now, we have two different equation. To solve for A and B, just use simultaneous equation. Okay, and then from there, you're going to get B is 0.2 and A would be 0.1. Just to recheck back, once you substitute A and B back into the table, summation of the probability must also be 1. Okay, now for 5b, we have given with EX squared equal to 20.4, we have to find variance of 5 minus 3x. So first, because we have to solve this using properties, we have to find value for variance x first. Okay, so for variance of x, we have a fixed formula, EX squared minus squared of x, both already provided in the question. EX squared is 20.4, and then EX would be 4.2. And then from there, we get variance of X would be 2.76. Okay, settle with that. Now, to solve using properties, variance of 5 minus 3x is actually variance of 5 plus with variance of negative 3x. Variance of 5, variance of constant is basically 0. And then for variance of negative 3x, negative 3, we have to square it up. So this will become 9 times with variance of x. So 9 times with 2.76, final answer will be 24.5. Okay, settle. Very direct question. You just have to remember the formula in order to find the variance, and then you have to remember the properties for variance. Okay, part C. Now, a bias die with 5 face is rolled. So we have a different situation here. Instead of 6, now we have only 5 faces. And then we have a new table, but this represent cumulative table. Careful with that part. This is not probability. This is cumulative. What is cumulative? It is summation of our probability. Okay, so from here we have to find value of K. All right, and then uh, find the probability of distribution of Y. So from cumulative, we have to find Y. Okay, so let's do this first. So for part C, from the table, we know that our total cumulative must be the same as total of probability. And we know this would be 1, right? As before, summation of all probability must be 1. So the n value of our cumulative here also must be 1. So if I equate this as 1, k straight away would be 1 over 5. Okay, so change this value. And then remember, in order to find probability, you have to subtract your cumulative value. So final answer for probability distribution would be as follow. When y is 1, our probability would be 1 over 10. When y is 2, probability is still 1 over 10. When y is 3, probability would be 4 over 10. And last one, when y is 4 and 5, probability would be 2 over 10. Okay. So settle with that part. And then last one for question E. Okay. So each die is rolled and then the score of the two dice are independent. Okay. Find the probability that the sum of the two score is equal to 2. Okay. So let's check this solution. So means now both dice for X event and Y event roll together. So we must find the probability when we get the summation of X and Y is 2. So for summation X and Y to be 2, we only have one case when X is 1 and when Y is 1. That's how we know because this is independent. Independent means multiplication of two probability. So we have to find probability when X is 1 times with probability when Y is 1. For both cases, probability is 1 over 10. So if I multiply this up, our final answer will be 1 over 100. Okay, so carefully read the situation, carefully read the situation. So, and then remember what is independent event. This is in topic 7. Probability for independent A intersect B is probability of A times probability of B. That's why for our solution just now, I have to multiply both probability. Okay, that cover for question E. All right, now proceed with question number 6. So we have a cumulative distribution function of continuous random variable. So we have a continuous case here, careful, and then we provide with a cumulative function. So from here, we have to find constant k. So for constant k, you can use any interval as long as you relate this with constant k. Okay, I use the value at when x equal to 0. So from those two, I just equate F0, means I just input F0 in both interval and equate this up. From there, we get K is 1 over 8. Okay, settle with the first question. Now, for the second question, we have to find probability um, x greater than 1. And then we have to find the mean. Okay, so for our function just now, I rewrite back K as 1 over 8. So we get a full function for cumulative. Since we want to find probability x greater than 1, we already understand that when it comes to cumulative function, that is the probability from negative infinity. Okay, so let's say I illustrate this in our number line. So now the question asks us to find when x is greater than 1. So this region, but cumulative cover the latter part, the back region. Okay, so in order to find the shaded area, we must know the total probability must be 1. So 1 minus with the cumulative part of F1, we will get probability of what the question asks for. That's how we decide 1 minus with F1. So how do we find F1? So check our range. So F1 lies in the second function. So substitute 1 into x. That's how we get final answer. Probability would be 1 over 8. Okay. And then next part, we have to find the mean. So in order to find the mean, remember back the formula. Mean will be integral of x times with our function. But our function must be probability function, not cumulative function. So we have a problem here because our function is in the form of cumulative. So from cumulative function, we have to change this into probability function first. That's why we have to differentiate each function. So for the first and last function, if we differentiate, you may get 0. And then for second function, if we differentiate, we get 1 over 4x plus 2. And then for the third function, if we differentiate, we get 1 over 4, 2 minus x. So now we have to integrate these two functions. So substitute this into expectation formula. Remember, x times with our function with a correct limit. So for the first one would be negative 2 up till 0, x times with the function, and then plus with, and then our second function 0 up till 2, x times with our second function. Okay, simplify this up, integrate each term, and then you may get 0 as our final answer. Okay, and then to answer the properties question, expectation of 2 minus 3x, this is equal to expectation of 2 minus with expectation of 3x. Okay, expectation of 2 is 2. Expectation of 3x is the same as 3 times with expectation of x, which is 3 times 0. So final answer for that question would be 2. Now we proceed with the last question, question number 7. This cover topic 9. So we have a telesales operator is selling a magazine. Each day he choose a number of people to telephone. Number of people, that's referring to number of trial, and that's represent n. Means now we have a binomial distribution. So the probability that each person he telephones buys the magazine is 0.1. So that is about our event when our customer buy the magazine. So state a suitable distribution to model this situation. And then on Tuesday, the telesales operator telephoned 10 people. Find the probability that he sell at most 4. And then for part C, calculate the least number of people he needs. Okay. So A, B, and C referring to the same distribution but different number of trial, different n. So for the first part, as I said before, this referring to binomial distribution, but we don't know the number of people that buy the magazine. number of people that he called. So n, I leave it as n first. And then probability of success, probability of people that will buy the magazine is 0.1. Rewrite this as a distribution. So X distribute with binomial B and 0.1. Okay. And then for part B question, it mentioned about number of people. We have 10 people altogether. We have to find probability at most 4. So at most 4 does not cover in our table because table provide at least. So that's why we have to use 1 minus with at least 5. Why this happen? Okay. From 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I try to illustrate. We have to find from 0 up till 4, but table read at least 5 and above. That's how we know that we have to use 1 total of probability minus with unrequired side. That's why we get 1 minus with at least um 5. And then read from the table, we get 1 minus with 0.0016. So our final answer will be 0.9984. Okay. And then question C, calculate the least number of people. So now n is unknown, means we have a new distribution on Wednesday, so that the probability of selling at least one magazine on that day is greater than 0.95. So I introduce a new distribution, unknown n, p is still 0.1, and with a statement that probability at least one is greater than 0.95. Okay, so from this statement now, we have to find n, but we know now n is unknown. And then the only way we can come out with n is by using binomial formula. But binomial formula must involving equal number of x. So that's why I rewrite for probability x at least 1 as 1 minus with probability equal to 0. Okay, and then simplify this up. We get probability x equal to 0 is 0.05. So from there, I come out with binomial formula and C0, and then probability of success 0.1 to the power of 0, and probability of failure 0.9 to the power of n. This is less than 0.05. Okay, and C0 is basically 1. 0.1 power of 0 is also 1. That's how we live with 0.9 to the power of n is less than 0.05. In order to find n, we have to log both sides, and then careful when we divide with log involving decimal number that is negative number, so you have to flip over the sign. That's how we get finally n would be 29 people. So now next part. So a call center also sell the magazine. The probability that a center sell magazine is 0.05. So we have new event with new probability of success. And then he called 100 people every hour. So we have a new number of trial. Our n now will be 100. And then use suitable approximation, find the probability that more than 10 people more than 10 people telephone by the call center buy a magazine in a randomly chosen hour. Okay, so now I introduce um new distribution because we have new and p. So our new distribution will be binomial. It's still binomial, but now n is 100 and p is 0.05. Okay, because n is too large, we have to use approximation to normal distribution. So change this into normal distribution. That's how we get a new distribution, normal with mean 5 and variance is 4.75. Okay, now we can answer the question. The question asks to find more than 10. Because we change from binomial into normal, we have to use continuity correction. That's why this would be y greater than 10.5. And then now to make it as a standard normal part, you have to standardize this up. So 10.5 minus with mean 5 divide with standard deviation, set of 4.75, and we get Z is finally 2.52. So if we're referring to our bell-shaped curve, for 2.52, we can directly read from the table. So our final answer would be 0.00587. Okay. And then for question E, the weight of individual magazine can be modeled by a normal distribution. So now we have another new distribution, normal distribution, with mean 280 and standard deviation of 40. Find the probability that a randomly choose magazine weight is between 260 and 310. Okay. So I introduce another new distribution, normal distribution with mean 280 and variance would be 40 squared. Okay. So the question asked to find probability between 260 and 310. So that's what the question asked for. We cannot solve in normal distribution. You have to standardize this up into standard normal because that's the only way to read from the table. So show that you standardize each probability, and then you obtain value of Z is from negative zero point 0.5 up till 0.75. Okay, so if we're referring to our bell-shaped curve, we cover from negative region up till positive region. So we have to use 1 minus with the unrequired part. Okay, so I have to do 1 minus with probability. Actually, Z must be less than negative zero point 0.5, and then Z greater than 0.75 based on the bell shape. But our standard table cannot have negative number, so uh we have to change the sign. So this would be Z greater than zero point 0.5. And then for both value, we can straight away read from the table. Final answer probability will be 0.4649. And that marks the end of our last question. So for part B, altogether we have 75 marks. You can check your score. Don't forget to fill in your marks in the Google form so that you can obtain your certificate. Thank you.